For almost 30 years, 75 Chrome Shop has been a family-run business with a dedicated team of longtime employees. We stay ahead of the curve in the ever-changing trucking industry, providing top-notch customer service and product knowledge. Whether you're looking for the latest chrome accessories or hard-to-find parts, we've got you covered. We offer aftermarket chrome for all big rigs, custom vinyl lettering, acrylic signs, and tags. Our 10,000 square foot facility, the oldest chrome shop in the South, houses a mechanic shop for oil and tire changes and chrome installation. Plus, we have a huge selection of lights for every vehicle on the road. Don't miss our annual truck show every April featuring over 200 trucks and family-friendly entertainment. Visit 75 Chrome Shop today, your truck's new best friend. All right, welcome back to another edition of the Goblay Show. I'm your host, Billy Goble, and today we have a special guest. He's a former Raider player, football player, and right now he's actually running for school board. How would you say that?
Re-election for school board.
Re-election for school board. So without further ado, the man behind that mysterious voice is Mr. Russell Hogan. Russell, welcome to the show, brother.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Fantabulous.
Fantabulous. It's early.
Yeah, it's not real early.
Sorry.
Early for some. It's normal for me.
Normal for you?
Yeah.
Sorry to pull you out, out of bed so early. We have some issues with the installation of air conditioning in the studio, and it's a work in progress.
Can all be fixed.
But I've got a guy who's got a construction company that could give me some pointers, and we're gonna figure it all out.
Sometimes they're nice to know.
It's about who you know, really.
A lot of times.
So what I do is a lot of my guests, a lot of people probably don't know who you are. And that's okay, because there's a lot of new people around here. I meet people all the time that live in Bushnell, and I've never seen in my entire life. I hate to say Bushnell's a revolving door, but it's not really. But it seems like it's getting that way. People come and go all the time. So
much different than 20 years ago. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. That's what. If you compare it to something like that 20 years ago, you knew the same people. Blah blah blah. So what I like to do is try to go back and talk about your upbringing. Are you originally from here? Blah blah blah, and then if we're going to talk about sports a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But let's see. Where were you? Where were you born? Were you born here?
I'm a fifth or sixth generation native Floridian. I'd have to go back and actually ask the questions.
Gotcha.
But I was actually born in Tampa.
Oh, okay.
So, but we've been in Sumter County my whole life. As far as I can remember, I went to. I was actually a catechism class at the Catholic Church because they had like a pre-K/daycare type thing.
Right.
So even before kindergarten, that was my earliest recollections.
Gotcha.
I think my mom's from Hernando County.
Okay.
So we give her a hard time when we used to play Hernando, right? Of course, they don't want to play us no more, but but anyway, she's from Hernando. So we lived there for about a year, I think, when I was a baby, if I remember right.
Right.
From the stories, and then we moved here, across the river, basically. I don't know, 1 or 2 years old I was, and I went there, and then I went to Bushnell Elementary, South Sumter Middle, and graduated from South Sumter High in '92.
Class of '92.
Class of '92.
Okay. Did you grow up playing any sports like like league ball or?
Yeah. Well, of course, back then we didn't have travel ball 365 days a year, right? But I played baseball and football. Of course, I did all the Pop Warner and the in the little leagues. I think it was Dixie Youth at the time. Still, maybe. Actually, started in. For whatever, I remember starting in Webster, I think. I'm not sure why, but I remember playing on those ball fields a lot. And then there's a field that's not even there anymore. It's over right by Lee Krause's old paint shop, behind the industrial buildings that are kind of by the tracks. Yeah. It's all pine trees now.
Yeah, I do remember that field.
There was a field there.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually a softball field at one time. Then it got converted back to a baseball field. we came from Webster. I do remember the first I guess we just moved in or something to that area, and we had to switch leagues or something. So I remember starting off there. Gotcha. So my athletic career started off bad. The first, I say bad, it couldn't have got any better because the first they brought me into the game or into the practice and said, "Hey, we'll try you at shortstop." Okay, and my dad, we've always played catch and we hit, and I've been playing baseball. So the first play of the practice scrimmage game that we had, I made a triple play by myself, unassisted triple play. Wow. Which, I'm 6 years old or 7 years old, whatever it was. Right. So it's not a big deal. But, how do you can't go up from there, right? You're done. So, I knew right there I was never making it to the MLB or NFL or anything like that. So, but, we played for years until we got to high school where I played baseball and football.
Who was coaching at the middle school at the time? Do you remember football? Did you play? You said football, right?
I actually didn't play football in middle school. Both of my dad was a builder in Citrus County. He worked for a big builder in Citrus County when I was in middle school, and my mom worked for. I don't know if you remember the old Pickwick food stores. Oh, yeah. Pickwick, right?
Yeah, Pickwick.
She was an area manager for them, so she was always down in Tampa. So we had an issue of traveling, back and forth and getting me to and from practice. Right. And we did. So I don't remember who the middle school coach was, gotcha. To be honest with you. So I didn't really play in middle school.
Who were some of the guys that you grew up with?
Mark Peterson, Timmy Hooten, Alfie Truesdale, Danny McCoy, Steve Burnett. I'm missing some. Fred Williams.
Okay.
Perry Mobley. Joe Freeman, people like that.
My dad coached most of those guys in Webster, and he was with Raymond Burke and Danny McCoy, all those guys back in the day. And I remember some of those names you just said brought back some memories. Those are.
And I'm horrible with names. I should have brought Crystal will ask me. My wife Crystal, she'll ask me, well, who is it? My wife Crystal probably knows the people's names I went to high school with better than I do. And I don't know if I got that from my dad. We're good with numbers, but not necessarily good with names.
Right.
Or if when I was in the Navy, when I taught about 5,000 students and I ran through all the names, I just can't remember names anymore. Right. I don't know what it is, right. But yeah, there are times when we go back and look in my yearbook to see, oh, look, that's who that was, or that's who it was. You see somebody at the post office, and because I moved away for 10 years. I think I moved away for 10 years. And the other thing about that is my senior year, when you turn 17, almost 18, when you really start to think about things, I guess maybe I was only in high school during the day for about a period and a half, maybe 2 periods. I did a DCT program.
Okay, yeah.
So I would go to work with my father all day because I had enough credits to graduate.
Right.
And then I'd come back for baseball or football practice. So I'd go out and work in the heat all day, and then I'd come back I was always a little tired of practice. So.
Yeah, I can see why. You were burning your candle at both ends, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad we don't do that like that anymore, to my knowledge. So, and it probably was not the best thing to miss out, because you miss out a lot of stuff your senior year in school. So.
At one point, do you think we ever did two-a-days in Florida, or was that always like a no-no?
I don't ever remember doing 2 days.
Yeah.
I don't.
So it always seems to be like a not northern thing. I don't want to, geographically speaking, but like north of us, I'll say.
Yeah, I don't ever remember it. But I hated practice.
Yeah.
Hated practice.
I don't think there's anybody that likes practice.
It seems like these kids nowadays maybe like it a little bit better, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe not.
When I did what I did in sports, when I participated, practice was, now baseball practice, it was a good time to go hang out because I didn't take it seriously. I wasn't very good at it. So what I did was, that was time to socialize.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
Or try out new material.
Mm-hmm.
like open mic night or anything. But it was, I don't know, like football. I mean, like our football practices, it's very intense. It's
organized a little different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, coaches. We are blessed to have a lot of coaches. If you're talking about football, that have been in college programs. Like I'm probably like the only person you've had on the show that didn't go to college to play some kind of sport, right? Am I the first?
Well, that's probably a safe assumption, but yeah, probably. Who knows? I mean,
I got you.
I think you're right.
But those guys, so I am kind of special. That's nice. Appreciate that,
See?
Billy.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me. The lamest guest ever.
We had an off week.
Yeah, bye week, right? Yeah,
Bye week.
gotta fill in the airtime. A lot of our coaches obviously have been to college and played football at various levels. So what that does is obviously it allows them to see other coaching guys that have taught them how practices should be run and what to teach them.
Right.
So
whether your water is supplied by a public municipality or a private well, for residential or commercial use, Purified Water Services LLC has the solutions to provide you with simply clean water. We offer a complete line of professional water filtration equipment and accessories. Soft water makes a difference you can see and feel. Water heater and appliances last longer with less maintenance. Iron and H2S filters eliminate iron stains and offensive rotten egg odors and protects your water softener equipment from iron fouling. No matter what your problem is, Purified Water Services LLC has a solution. Contact Kenny Williams at 352-446-2709.
The evolution of how they coach and how they organize a practice is totally different. And Coach Sherman kind of started that early. You know, I was here early in his career, and he got to that. He just didn't have the coaches necessarily around him. I think early on, I'm not going to speak for him, but they had all that other experience because he played college ball, of course.
Right.
So he had it, but there wasn't a lot of others.
Right.
That did it. So I there's no way in shape or form that doesn't help our program and the way the practices are run. My wife told me a story yesterday. She was at the football camp. She goes every year to kind of help with that camp, just pass stuff out and register and stuff. There was a guy there, and I don't know what his name was, had some kids. I basically was telling Coach Lawrence, he goes, man, this is the best. This is a football camp, and it's better run than any football practice I've ever seen. So, and I think the big thing about that is they have to take advantage of the time they have. These are young kids, young men that, they just put a full day of school in. They got all the issues in their own life, then they got school, and then they go to practice. You only got so much more out of them in that day.
Right.
So you've got to it's got to be very fast, very focused of what they're doing to get the best out of them for the best result to teach them what you want, trying to coach them up.
Right, and there's a lot of, the absolute 100% truth of that. I think we had to, it definitely evolved. Like you said, when Coach Sherman got here first, he probably had an idea of what he wanted to do, but didn't have necessarily the tools or the right personnel it lined up. He probably had, who he had at the time, and each person is like they bring their own little piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And the staff we have at this moment, we have a bunch of college, like you said, college athletes that are helping these kids. My God, we have a 2006 national champion football player on the team, and half these kids don't even know who he is. And that's the thing is they just see him as Coach Everett.
Mm-hmm.
That's Coach Earl. And then there's some kids that are like, who's Coach Everett? They don't even. That's what you run into.
Sure.
Buzzsaw you run into every day. You'll talk about, we'll play highlights and stuff, and they're like, wow, who's that guy? And I'm like, you're sitting right next to him. I have no clue. But that's the thing that we can bring to the table is.
Well, and the good thing about that is he doesn't have to tell. He doesn't tell them either, right? I mean, it's not important to him.
No,
but they're getting his experience.
Right.
And then the other thing is a lot of our coaches have been here a long time. I don't want to call them tenured, but they have a lot of history here. They have a lot of experience. I always tell everybody it's really hard to replace good experience. All right. There was an old saying my dad used to tell me. I mean, he didn't make it up, but everybody says practice makes perfect. Now, I don't believe in that at all, because you could practice the wrong thing and you're going to suck.
Yeah.
But if you can do perfect practice, then that's going to help you get closer to perfection.
I heard Jimmy Johnson say the same thing.
Oh,
That's where I heard it
from.
from was Jimmy Johnson. He said, "Practice makes perfect." He said, "I don't believe in that. Perfect practice makes perfect."
And the other thing is, there's no such thing as perfect in this world we live in. But you're that's what you're striving to, right?
It's a goal.
Yep.
Yeah. But going back to what we were saying about the coaches, it's amazing, and it's such a humbling thing to see people just go, well, it's just practice, or it's just football. I have so many people tell me it's just football, but they don't understand, because these kids, now grown men who went through our system, come back and they want to coach here. They want to be a part of something great, and that's what we try to tell them every day. Look, if nothing else works out in your life, you are always a part of something special. You know what I mean? It's something that they'll never forget.
I only had one head coach at South Central High School when I played football, and that was Inman Sherman. And I was not the best athlete there. Our teams were, my classmates might not like this, but we probably weren't the most talented group.
Yeah.
It was very early on.
Right.
He was trying to build a program, so. It takes more than one man to build that program.
Right.
Not only does the coaches have to buy into his scheme, what he's trying to do, he's working with what he has. The community is involved with that as well. A lot of noise can get put out in the community, can hinder programs. So it takes a while.
Right.
I mean, it really does take a while. And I think that's always what he started. What I kind of always admired about him is it's more than football. It's about making these young men better young men, so they could grow into be men. I told a story to a reporter one time, where he asked me some questions, and my daughter had just won like the Spectrum News Sports Scholarship. It was back when she was a senior. And he asked me, he goes, well, what do you think like the best course, or what do you think that sports does? I said, well, it's probably one of the best teachers that we have, because it's not just about the sport. It's about learning how to deal with people. It's about going through something that may be a little more arduous or difficult than you would normally do. It's about going out there and putting in the work and putting the effort, and then seeing the result. So it's one of the best teachers, and that's what our coaches still try to do. I know Ty, he's always trying to make these kids better and give them opportunities. If you look, and I don't follow it as closely, I love the game of football. I'm not exactly pleased with where NFL is and the college football game is today. Has nothing to do with the game itself inside the stripes. It's all the noise outside of it.
Right.
But there's something special I can remember from being a football player, is walking on that field, even though it's plastic now instead of grass. At Friday nights when the lights come on, there's very few things like it as you can experience. Yeah. I forgot where I was going. I think what was I talking about? Coach Ty?
Yeah.
Ty, about what he's trying to do?
Yeah.
He's trying to make these young men better. And if you look at it, if you look all around Central Florida, do you think there's another team that puts as many young men in colleges as this small program? I've had coaches tell me, not from our school, but from other ones, that it just doesn't happen. Right. And it's because of the time and effort that those coaches put into these young men after hours that nobody sees, trying to do the best thing they can for them. So,
I was going to get I had to get a coaching certificate so I could be out there. Everybody's got to be certified now, and so I'd take a class, and forgot his first name, but it's Mr. Wambles or Wamble. And I might be butchering his last name, but I only got to meet him that class. It was like a 4-hour class. And this guy he was a great guy. He seemed like he'd done it all. He went from Florida to Arkansas, then he coached in, I think, Georgia for a little bit. I'm trying to remember all his story. But anyways, this guy I think he's an athletic director at Olympia High School now, or he's over there somewhere. And I mentioned our coaches. He didn't know who I was, but he knew our coaches.
Oh, yeah.
And because he had worked alongside them. So he was like, I was like, yeah, do you know? So I texted Ty. I was like, hey, do you know this guy? And he's like, yes, man, great guy. And he said the same thing about Ty, Coach Gauntlet, Chris. He was the athletic director and a PE coach at Tavares when Chris was in high school. No. He told a few stories about Chris. We'll refrain from repeating, but it was funny because it's like these people are a part of your life even though they're not with you now, and they see your progression and how you've grown as a person, not only as a coach but a person, and it's amazing how. Something like that, and that's what we're trying to get across to our student athletes is, look, no matter what you do, and it doesn't even have to be football.
That's right.
We want every sport at South Sumter.
Well, you see those coaches, we're part of the Booster Club. My wife is on that board, and she drags me up there. I'm not going to dime out the person who volunteered my wife to do that, but she knows who she is too. So I work the concession sometimes. Yeah. Which is fun. I can just watch baseball. I unload stuff and clean up a little bit, help those.
Hear some good tunes while you're...
Yeah, I hear some good tunes.
For me. Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Webster Ace Hardware and Farm Supply are generous sponsors for today's podcast. They have been a family-owned business for 27 years. This helpful hardware store sells items such as archery, Ariat clothing and boots, Wrangler jeans, case knives, Hammond's candies, and live fishing gear. They also have a full selection of hardware, RV supply, propane, Ben Moore, Royal & Clark, and Kingston paints. You need a barn or fencing job done? Custom barn kits and roofing metal are provided at your local Ace Hardware store. What about a new grill for the yard? Traeger, Big Green Egg, Weber, and Blackstone are found here, along with all the accessories to go with them. Stock up your workshop with DeWalt, Milwaukee, or Craftsman tools. They got you covered. Remember to go to ace.com to shop their entire line to have items shipped directly to the store.
You see those coaches at all these other sports because they're supporting their kids no matter where they're at.
Right.
And it's not just those kids. They want to see kids that aren't in sports do well too.
Right.
The coaching is just another teaching spot. I'm telling you. It's just another form of teaching.
Yep.
And what they can do for the young men and women. Look what Coach Gauntlet and those guys. There was a program started weightlifting, and then Coach Gauntlet he works his tail off at that weightlifting program.
Yep.
To help it. Coach Stan Coburn works his tail off at track. We've been pretty good at track last couple of years. And I'm not saying any other coaches don't. I'm just pointing out a few of what they're trying to do. I envy those coaches, or I can sympathize with them, I guess, because of the hours they have to put in after school.
Yep.
That they work for those kids. And it does pay off. It's really neat to see. I don't know if everybody knows about it, but there's a little event that we do. And it's an alumni event, kind of a football alumni event that people come back, and it's nice to talk to those guys that played football and just get together, and the camaraderie that the Raider Nation has when we do that. It's pretty cool. I don't think a lot of schools have that.
No. I saw something the other day. Is that I think we have our cross country team back. As far as I think it, or either that I saw something about cross country.
That hurts me even thinking about running cross country.
I know, but what's great about it is I remember that being in high school, and then for years we didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you look at all these other schools that have they have a lacrosse team. And
swimming.
I'm like, swimming? What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So And like our soccer teams. We didn't have a soccer team when we were in high school. So, we're evolving. We're keeping up, trying to keep up with everybody else.
I can remember when I was a junior or senior in high school, there was like 4 of us. We tried to start a golf team.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we got the approval to do it.
Yeah.
The problem is it was during another season of baseball or football, and all the guys were playing that. So we ended up not playing anyway. Yeah. But we thought we wanted to play golf, which I was really bad at in high school. And I'm still bad at today. You'll see later today.
I was going to say, I'm still bad.
I actually played when I was in the Navy. I played about 5 days a week.
Yeah.
I was in the Navy, going to college. Turns out my college professor at the time was a what they call Nike Tour, maybe. I'm not a big golf guy, but right. Nike Tour. There's something about it must have been like the minor leagues of golf or something. I think, yeah. And he was on the Nike Tour, and he was a pretty decent golfer. And he also was like a DJ at these Seville Quarter type places. You know, he was kind of a jack of all trades. Local Pensacola community guy, and he took me on his wing, and we played. He made me go out 5 days a week and hit hundreds and hundreds of balls. And I got to where I could play. I was decent.
Yeah.
He got me a set of, or we found a set of clubs. I think I still have them. There's some clones of some good set of clubs, and I got where I was decent. Like I could really decently play. But then when you don't do it, and it was hard for me to always get rid of my baseball swing. So.
Oh yeah.
But when you don't do it every day, and I played a little bit when I went to a company called CN. It was a fiber optics firm I was worked at out of the Navy. I would go out and play with those guys and was okay, but I just never. It was one of them things where it takes a while to play golf on a Sunday,
right? Oh yeah,
or a Saturday,
yeah,
right.
It not only that, it's super expensive. It's an expensive hobby.
Well, my wife would say my fishing and hunting habits might be more expensive, but I don't get to hunt as much as I used to.
Yeah, but you can't hunt year round.
No. You know, but I can shoot. I like shooting.
You can fish year round, I guess. But,
oh yeah.
I was going to say, speaking of you talking about golf team, I helped with the golf team. I didn't get to play officially, but was on the squad. Helped out. I just want to be a part of the
right.
Same thing in football. I didn't get to play, but wanted to be around the action. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to be around the action, behind the scenes, be a part of the team. So, part of the golf team, Shady Brook. Mm-hmm. In its heyday, Shady Brook, the Brook, it just opened, and we got to play that every other afternoon or whatever, and it was an amazing time, but.
I lost a lot of balls in that little pond thing, right?
Yes, I was about to say, stayed in the woods longer than the Sasquatch.
Yeah,
came out of the water with a 9-pound bass.
There you go. Go in the woods to get your ball, come out with 3 more. Right.
You're like, look what I found.
Yeah, that's close enough to mine. I'll play it.
You know what's funny is people would like the people that lived there. So on the front 9, I think it was like, I don't know, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think it was the 4th hole before you get to the water, the actual waterfall and everything. You tee off, and if you had a wicked slice, you were going through somebody's living room.
Oh yeah, I've hit some trailers there, and not on a I forget what hole it was, but it was one of those where I must have hooked it or something real high, and it landed on the top of their roof, and it sounded like it just tore their whole trailer apart.
Yeah, a buddy of mine hit a ball, and it was one of those low, just.
That's low. The one of the good ones that'll bounce off a couple times, so you hear a couple noises,
like a heat seeker missile.
Yeah, those are good.
So, guy comes out raising Cain, hey! And my buddy just. He didn't even have a ball in his hand. He goes, precept. Precept. That'd be me.
Well, the saying there is, you live on a golf course, right? Not everybody can hit the ball straight.
Dude, what is it? I don't understand that because no matter where you go.
Oh yeah.
Lake Moana was the same way. There was a hole right there at the entrance, and everybody was to your left, and you hook it.
Yeah, and they got 45 feet of plate glass window on the back porch.
The most expensive
Right.
glass
Yeah.
that they could find. They're like, no, this is flown in from Italy.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute. You live on the backside of a golf course.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Oh, down the fairway. Not
Yeah,
like,
down the fair. Yeah,
I can
100 yards off the tee box, where
Yeah.
you know that's where they're going to. Right. You know, or at the end of a par 3, where you should get somebody like me. And I tell Stan all the time. He'll play with me, and I was like, all right, looks good for a 7-iron. I could be 45 yards from the hole, chip my 7-iron up there. 200 yards out, 7-iron. I'm
What are
good.
you, 10 cup?
I used to hit my 7-iron.
10 cup was also.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
I think that's where I got it from. But I used to hit my when I was playing a lot, I would hit a 7-iron about 210 yards.
Oh, wow.
So it was.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It was
Yeah.
just that club. I couldn't hit a 6. I couldn't hit a 8, but I could hit a 7. Then I could go to a 9. But then all of a sudden I got back. That was when I was playing a lot. I got down here. Now my 7-iron, it would go when I kept playing. When I first moved back in 02, 03, it would only go like 150 yards, but it would be 200 yards in the air. It looked like, right? It was just like, I don't know how did I change my swing?
You had some lob to it.
Oh my! I don't have no idea. But now I can't hit anything. But I just chip it up there nice and easy. So
You know,
he makes fun of me.
We had Jim Roberts was our golf coach.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace, Mr. Roberts.
Absolutely.
And every time we played Wildwood, he told us about those kids. He says, guys, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to drive every time, but what they're going to do is they can chip and putt every time. That's all that was their specialty, chipping and putting. And we always heard driving for show, but putting for dough.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely right. Funny story about him, with my fiasco of not making the golf team.
The brand new golf team.
Yeah. Kona Ice. Kona Ice is a shaved ice truck that brings a one-of-a-kind tropical experience to you. Guests can flavor their own Kona Ice on our signature flavor wave, dance to our island music tunes, and enjoy a nutritious and delicious treat. Contact Jeremy and Marissa at 352-403-0515. Don't forget to follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. What I did was I hated, I couldn't hit off a regular tee. So, they didn't make the extra long tees yet. If they had them, we didn't have them at our local Walmart, And Amazon was not a part of it.
Sure.
So somewhere I found a pin that was a tee. And I would
Oh my gosh, how big?
this high off the ground. And it was like Happy Gilmore,
Right.
But so I'm like, you know what? This is, first tee box. We're gonna just tryouts. First day, they're like, all right, Billy, go ahead. I put that thing on there. And first of all, he's like look,
I know because it has a check.
the top of the tee, the cup was that big. The ball was like, it could have rolled inside of it. I tee it up, and I hit right underneath it, and that thing shot up like a mortar. Somebody had to signal fair catch. Like
Catching a punt. Catching a punt. Yeah.
They're yelling, Peter.
That's not the way to start off your golfing career.
No, I shot a 90 on 9 holes.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
So
pretty bad.
That was first day. Mm-hmm. So the second day, I seek Mr. Roberts at school, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Roberts, I'm a freshman, one of those, get away from me, kid, He goes, yeah, what do you want? And I was like, hey, what do I need to shoot today to make the team? And he's like, well, what did you shoot yesterday? I said, a 90.
And he knew it was 9 holes.
A 6.
A 6. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm pretty much done. But anyways, so he's like, I think it was like next day after that, after I realized I wasn't going to make the cut. And I said, Mr. Roberts, he goes, you can ride with me in the golf cart. I was like, all right, what do you want me to do with my clubs? I got dropped off, He's like, oh, go put them in my green truck over there. So I go and I see this Ranger, throw my clubs in the back. I hop in the golf cart with him. We do our rounds at the end of the night. I get back, the truck's gone. It wasn't his truck.
Oh my God!
It wasn't his truck. I'm like,
there's your sign, buddy. He was just trying to help you out, save you some money.
Yeah, he goes. I said, Mr. Roberts, you told me to put him in that. He goes, I told you to put him in my green truck, not that green truck. And it was right over there by the driving range.
Okay.
I went home.
See, the story would have been better if he knew you were going to put it in somebody else's truck, because then he just basically got rid of your clothes for you.
He set me up.
Oh, okay. I got you.
But then I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, well, if you knew, you told me to put my clubs in that truck, and now the truck's gone. I don't know if I ever see my clubs again. So I can't. Obviously, I get picked up, and my dad's like, "Where's your clubs at?"
Some green truck, Dad.
That's a great question.
Did you ever get your clothes back?
The next day, it was a groundskeeper.
Oh, goodness.
And he came back, and my clothes were sitting out there. My dad said, well, it looks like your golf career is over with. I'm not buying you a new pair of clothes, which it was already over with when we bought them.
Oh, yeah. Before it began. Some of those things just
But I'll never forget that. He's like, just, hey, go put them in the green truck. And then I come back, I'm like, oh, my gosh, man. Where's my clothes? And I'm like panicking.
Oh, I could see it.
Got them back.
Dad just bought you the clothes. Now they're gone.
Yep.
Coach is not wanting you to play on the team. I get it.
Oh, yeah. It was a whirlwind of emotions.
Good old Jim.
But who was the golf? Did you have a coach then, or y'all just took it upon yourself?
I think we did. We would have probably went to Mr. Edwards and said, "Hey, man, we want to play golf."
Gotcha.
And then we weren't smart enough to figure out that golf was during baseball or whatever. And then he's like, "Boys, you can't play," because golf was, you had to travel like during the day.
Yeah.
And it's not a. So anyway, I don't know who would it end up being. I mean, I think they kept doing it the next year after I graduated, and I don't think it's been there forever. I think it kind of went away and then it came back.
Yeah, I know the girls have a golf.
So we never actually got to play golf. I mean, we would take some clubs out to Shady Brook, right? That's our course. Yeah. We'd play, but we just we never were very good.
We went to Denellen one time. That's the first time I ever saw a fox squirrel.
Scared
the crap out of me.
Are you from here?
Yeah, but I swear I've never. So
you ever been? Never mind. I gotta be careful. We're on air, kind of. So I can't.
Okay. No, somebody hits a ball, and I think I got to play just for funsies, like hey, let the kid get out there. And
let him hit.
So I hit this ball in the fairway. I was astonished myself. Hit it in the fairway, and all of a sudden, this marsupial looked like a river rat, like an otter. I'm like, what is that?
And who's with you? Your foursome is there, and they're the ones that let you know it wasn't an otter, it was a fox squirrel?
It was somebody else, and they said, man, that's a fox squirrel. I said, dude, I've never seen this thing before.
You sound like my wife. My wife says she doesn't think there's bears in Florida.
Oh no, yeah, there's bears.
She gives me. Oh yeah, I know, but she gives me a hard time.
There's a bear
I've never seen. Oh, I know. There's actually a bear in Bushnell. You don't know. It's up by Jumper Creek, and there's been a mountain lion there, or what do we call a Florida panther?
Panther. Yeah.
They've got them on camera, but she always gives me a hard time because she knows I've never seen one, because she wants me to take her to go see one. Like I take her in the boat. We go. She takes pictures of gators. Man, she got some crazy pictures of gators, like eating fish and catching fish. And I'm out there fishing, and she's out there with her camera, and I'm like, baby, you can't catch a fish if the bait's not in the water. Put that camera down, get your fishing pole up, and we'll see what you can catch. But I've never showed her a bear in Florida, so she always gives me a hard time. There's no bears. You've never showed me one, so.
Yeah, we were talking about when they had that open season, or it wasn't an open season, open weekend for bear. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, right?
It was like they shot 200 bears in a weekend. And they're like, all right, it's closed.
Yeah. They need to do that with some more gators, man. There's so many gators out there.
They need to really take care of that. Because like you said, there's tons.
You go on the river at night and shine a light.
Oh, it looks like a bunch of jack-o'-lanterns. Yeah. Just orange eyes.
It's crazy.
Catfish Johnny's Restaurant, serving the Lake Pennsauken and surrounding areas since 1990. For the last 33 years, we have strived to serve great food at great prices and a friendly, casual atmosphere. If seafood isn't your thing, our burgers or wings are the best around. We have daily specials too. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram for more information. So, going back to you playing, Coach Sherman at the helm, who were some other coaches you had?
I think Mark Fryer. Do you remember Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah.
All right. Chuck Sullivan.
Yeah, Chucky.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
He was a character.
Oh, you don't ever make that guy mad.
No, Chucky. He was our trainer type, like athletic trainer, I think, at the time.
No way.
Yeah.
I can remember. A good one.
Oh yeah, I was. We were at practice one day. I I can't wear a wedding ring because I broke that finger in high school. It was jammed.
Okay.
And I was a cornerback, I think, at the time. We were doing these drills, tip drills, or a drill where we're both going at the ball and you're trying to get to it first. And I had beat this kid to the ball, and then he hit my elbow, and it jammed my hand, or pushed my hand forward, jammed my thumb, basically bent my finger in half back, and then I had blood everywhere. It just basically popped that capsule, right, that joint. And so I go to Chuck, Coach.
Oh, my God.
What do you want, Hogan? I'm in practice, man. What do you want? So I cut my hands, right, and it's just full of blood. I was like, I just dump it on the ground. I was like, well, man, there's something wrong with my finger. Can we look at it? Oh, my gosh. He's like, what did you do?
Oh, my gosh.
So, and of course, my dad is 2 counties away. My mom's down in Hillsborough County, Tampa. So I forget who took me. I think it actually was Jeannie Lively. Had a power of attorney or medical thing. And she ended up taking me to the doctor to get the little to get stitches or something. But yeah, to this day, that knuckle will give me fits, and I can't wear my wedding ring. So
you can always tell when it's about to rain and stuff.
Yeah, it's getting better. I had the Navy docs put a bunch of I think cortisone or something where they took the needle, and it doesn't hurt me as much now as it did. But
Chuck Sullivan. Let me tell you,
Mr. Hurst. Oh, Mr. Hurst. Mr. Mayer.
Oh,
remember
okay,
Mr. Mayer?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayer. There was a guy. I think there was a couple other ones. I think some have passed since, but that had helped him back then.
Gotcha. What kind of offense did you?
Wurtenberger. He's the one. That's the one. Yeah, Todd. That's the one. Yeah.
Now Todd was there my freshman year, and then he left. So I got to meet like Todd at the very end and before he left. And I have no idea where he is now, but he was so cool. I
just talked to Coach Sherman about him. He had asked something about Todd. Todd always taught me, treated me very well. I got along with him pretty good. He was a lot of energy, if I remember right.
Yes.
I think he had a head coaching gig. Had a couple of them since, and I want to say he was up in North Florida, but I could be wrong. I know IJ knows where he's at because they keep in touch.
Yeah.
He actually had talked to me a couple years ago about him or one of his kids moving back, about looking for a house or something.
Okay.
I just don't know. I can't recall exactly.
Yeah, he was a nice guy, and I never had him in class. He also, was a teacher.
Science
teacher. Yeah, and he was one of those guys that was like he seemed more laid back, if I remember.
I just remember him on the football field. I mean, fired up.
Oh, he was.
He kind of reminds me of Coach Gauntlet in that regard. Yes. Not because they're kind of the same defensive. I don't know. I don't remember how it was set up. I didn't pay attention enough, right? But he's very, very passionate and very animated, very focused in that regard on the practice field. So
him and then when he left after that, Coach Mills, Billy Mills was there. He came in for 2 years. So was PJ Harrison. Do you remember PJ?
Peter Jim, yeah.
Yeah, Peter Jim.
He went to Florida to play.
Yes, played in Florida. Came back. I was my freshman year as his very first class. I had, I guess you call it.
So he taught?
Yeah.
I didn't realize he taught.
Yeah, he taught English.
Okay.
And awesome guy. I saw him.
I don't know where he's at. He was actually a pretty cool guy.
He's in Tennessee. I follow him on Facebook,
and
he's a pastor. Which is awesome.
God bless him.
He went to Kiki's camp last year, so I got to see him at when we had it on the practice field as the new field was being built, and By the way, you missed it. Yesterday was so hot.
But I work in the heat every day, man. I know, but yeah, I get it.
But this is like that turf at 11 o'clock. And see, I got to get used to that because on Saturdays, that's what I'll be coaching Wolfpack, 10U. And then we play at 11:30.
You know that field has a cooling agent to it too.
Yes.
If we didn't get that, oh my god!
Can you imagine what it would be like without it?
We had talked to a bunch of people about that, and I had actually talked to like ex-college athletes and some of them pro, and said, "Listen, what do you like about turf? This?" They all said, "No matter what you do, you got to get the coolant because if not, it will literally burn your feet."
Oh yeah,
it gets so hot.
That's crazy.
So,
but beautiful stadium. Did you ever think playing at South Sumter that you would ever see turf? I'd never thought I'd ever see turf. I thought we would stay with grass.
And listen,
not that I hate it. I mean, I love it. It's beautiful.
It's almost like the first time you see it. I told a bunch of them. I said it looks like I'm looking like the first time I seen it HDTV.
Yes,
it's so bright.
Yes.
It's so vivid and so clear. I like grass, right? Yes. I'm a grass guy. I'm an old baseball type stadium. Right. You see the grass and the lines, but they did a really good job designing it. The coaches and staff that when they did the color schemes, I think it looks great. It's awesome for the kids. I think it's awesome for the community because it allows us to use it more. I mean, that's the whole thing about the turf was we couldn't keep grass on it. Between the little kids playing football on it, the soccer, the girls soccer, the boys soccer, then the JV soccer,
Absolutely.
then the boys, all the football stuff, the camps that we can do. It was just more cost effective to do the turf than to try to fertilize. And then when the Russian things happened with all the fertilizer and it went through the roof. And then the other thing people don't realize is you still got to water it, you still got to mow it.
Yep.
The coaches were mowing it on their own time a lot of times because the regular staff couldn't. They were doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So from a cost standpoint, it made sense. And, I tell Stan all the time, like, man, you did a really good job on doing those lines, because we used to paint those lines, right? Yeah. I mean, paint, everything goes up, right? Yeah. Paint is double what it used to be.
Yep.
So I gave him a hard time the first couple games. Like, man, you did a really good job painting those lines this time. So,
yeah, Keith would do that.
Absolutely, Keith absolutely. Yeah, Keith all those guys did it.
And I would help him from time to time. And this is going to sound like cheesy, but it was an honor to do that.
Oh, sure.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that
there's something about that field. That's what I'm telling you. There's something about
it. But it's also the trust. Like you're not a total screw up. Like I could trust you to paint. Mm-hmm. If I put the stencil down, you could paint it without going over the stencil like an idiot. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like so, I felt a little bit like a sense of pride. Like it was like,
I get it.
Wow, I get to do this. Like it would be no different from being the main groundskeeper at like a baseball stadium, like Wrigley or something.
Yeah. Then we went to Fenway last year. That's a treat. We got to go on the field and.
Oh, I've seen the videos of them doing the manicuring that thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, my wife plans our vacation, so when we went there, we did a tour of that place, the back behind the scenes. You went behind the billboard or the scoreboard, and you see all the weird signatures on there, and pretty impressive, that place.
Did you have you ever been to Pittsburgh? Did you go to PNC?
I did not.
Okay.
We love going to baseball stadiums.
Yes, got to go to PNC.
We've been to a lot.
Yeah.
I started as a kid. I've been to every state except for Alaska. My parents, we always took 2 weeks. In the summertime, we'd go somewhere. So I've been everywhere but Alaska.
You need 2 weeks just to get there.
Yeah, I don't fly. So I used to work on airplanes in the Navy.
Hawaii.
On a U.S. Naval aircraft carrier.
I was gonna say, man, that's hard to get.
My wife is. She's out of luck, buddy.
I mean,
unless she wants to take a cruise over there, we ain't flying. I used to work on planes in the Navy, and I don't fly. When I had Carson, for some reason, my whole mindset changed, and I haven't flown since I had my daughter.
You're gonna be like B.A. Baracus.
Yeah, you're gonna have to knock me out. Knock me out. Give me some sort of IV.
Yeah.
Xanax or something,
It'll
right?
Be in the milk. You're like,
Duto Realty is a homegrown business with an eye for getting the job done right. From football games to Sunday school and everything in between, these ladies care about our community and the people in it. Helping buyers and sellers in all of Florida with all types of transactions, including residential, commercial, farm, or vacant land. They do it all. They even offer auction services and sellouts to always get the job done right.
Yeah, but no, we've been to a lot of stadiums. They're really neat. I'm gonna tell you one of my favorite stadiums right now the one we've been to recently was the new Tiger Stadium in Detroit, and you wouldn't think that because it's Detroit, but it was really nice. And Philadelphia Stadium's nice. Philadelphia is unique because we stayed downtown.
Yeah.
Park there, and then you don't want to go anywhere because you can't park in any of these cities, right? So you got an Uber or taxi or whatever, bus, transit. But then it's almost like a movie, like the Gotham City, where you see the line going out from the stadiums are right outside the city. They're just a track that goes out to them,
right? And
they're kind of in the middle of nowhere out there by themselves, which is a smart idea,
right?
And that was a pretty cool stadium. We were in Maryland for a while when I was working at a fiber optics firm, and we would go to Camden Yards. Awesome stadium. I mean, great setting. Yeah. They kind of did the old industrial redo type thing.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome stadium. And I don't know if that was one of the first of its kind when they did that. I think it was when they renovated that. Of course, that's been years ago now, and that's what those themes are starting to do.
Right.
The one I was really disappointed in, we went to Yankee Stadium. I don't know I think it's still called Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
The version they're on now.
Yes.
It's just a big concrete blah. I mean, I was expecting something, but it's just it reminds me of my big aircraft carriers used to be on, big haze gray, concrete.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's the thing is you either got that or you got like at Wrigley. Wrigley and Fenway are still the oldest parks. But Wrigley's
actually older, I think.
Is it older?
I believe it is. I did a report on it. I got an Excel spreadsheet. I'll try to send you one day. I did all this report on them, and I saw who was the engineer, who was the thing. Yeah. I did it for Coach Newman one time. We were talking about it, and how much it cost at that time and what the dollar amount. I'll try to find it if I still have that computer.
That's interesting. It would be cool to see the comparison.
I think Wrigley is the oldest. I believe it's the oldest. If memory serves me correctly.
Well, they've got seats where you're behind a pole.
Yes. Well, one of those stadiums didn't have lights for years, right? You always had to play in the game.
Yeah.
So
I forgot what it was, but they didn't do night games until
no.
And surprisingly, like the late 60s or 70s or something like that.
Well, and the thing about Wrigley is that group that owns that, right? That owns the Boston Red Sox.
Right.
Downtown Boston is not easy to get around, right? So we go park. They own, they're buying up everything. The number, the 47 logo, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The hats and shirts.
47.
The restaurants down there, the buildings, everybody we talk, they're trying to buy all of it.
Everything.
It is a crazy large business monopoly of that area and what they do. And they sell everything. That tour that we went on, it wasn't cheap.
Oh, I'm sure.
And we were a small tour. There was tours with hundreds of people. We had 8 in our group.
Oh, wow.
So they could take us a lot more places.
Yeah, a little more intimate.
But when we were there probably was 30 tours going on. Not like ours, but other tours. They had, groups of 25 in this tour, groups of 50. And then obviously the bigger that were, you couldn't go as many places and the cheaper it was. But crazy business that is. How big it is.
They're even in NASCAR.
Yes.
Roush Fenway.
Yeah.
Which, you got 2 major names.
That's true.
2 American, like Americana. When you think of Roush, and Fenway Park or Fenway. But I was going to say about when you were talking about turf. See, I grew up a Pittsburgh fan, so that's what we had. That Three Rivers was AstroTurf.
That's right.
And so it was you watch all these other games on grass, you're like, man, I bet that ball would have bounced a little bit different if it hit that concrete carpet on there. But Three Rivers Stadium was I think that was my favorite. I love PNC Park, don't get me wrong, but Three Rivers is what I grew up on.
Well, in some of the stadiums we went to, the Braves Stadium right now is on its 4th iteration of what it is. Busch Stadium out in St. Louis, I think it's on its 2nd or 3rd stadium since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But those baseball stadiums are really, really cool. I'd rather go to a baseball stadium than a football stadium.
Yeah.
For some, I don't know. I don't know why.
Well, I think the football stadium, they're trying to get more people in there.
Sure.
Baseball stadium is a selected amount. It's like an arena.
Sure.
You know, you go to an arena, you're like, wow, they're only going to fit maybe 15,000 people in here, maybe, or whatever, you know, depending on size. But it's still, that's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. And I usually only do it on a trip. We take a trip because I'm not a big crowd person.
Right.
And it's not as crowded. Like we go down to Tampa sometimes. They give me a veterans discount, right? Or give us. Right. I think they give us free tickets. My wife does it. She gets online. They do it. So we can get free tickets down there to some game on like a Sunday night or something. You know that they don't have anybody coming to.
They need people to show up.
Yeah. Which is still it's great that they do that to try to help. And so we'll go down there because it's not crowded. But yeah, those big getting into New York, that stadium at New York to see the Yankees, that was a nightmare. I mean, it really was.
Yeah, I got to drive in New York, and I drove up from Florida, went all the way up, and I was by myself, and I was probably 30 years old, and I was like, oh my gosh, like driving around, and then I'm like, you know, the infamous joke is try to find a parking spot. Well, I did. I found one. And I was like, oh my gosh, like either I just beat the rep or like maybe it's my
you
lucky
just won
day.
a lotto, yeah.
So, but driving through New York, I was like, it didn't seem real. Like I was just kind of like driving around, and I'm like it was Monday or Tuesday, so the kids are going to school. There's, believe it or not, they have school buses. I didn't know they had. I mean, I figured they're so close they could just walk or public transportation. I guess it is their public transportation. I'm talking about like subway or
right.
or whatever. They still have school buses. So, you know, you get behind a school bus in New York, you're like, oh my gosh, you think it's bad in Groveland?
Right. I got you.
Try it in Manhattan.
Yeah. Well, and we took tours when we were down there. You know, there's semi-delivery trucks. Now, the trailers are shorter, but I'm like, this poor guy does not get paid enough to deal with this.
Right.
And then not only try to find a parking spot, or a place to pull over to unload the load.
Yeah.
That place gives me, I don't get anxiety necessarily, but if I did, that place is what would give me anxiety.
Right.
To live with that many people that close and not be able to move. I don't know how they do it because I can't. I couldn't do it.
When you got out of high school, you said you went to the Navy.
Yep, went to the Navy.
What was that experience like?
It was life-altering.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was only in 8 years. Got a lot of good friends out of it. Learned a tremendous amount about leadership and how to treat people, how to get things done. Had a pretty good career for being only 8 years. Right. I was in electronics, so we worked on the little black boxes everybody talks about in planes. Not just the box itself, but we would take the cards out.
Gotcha.
And resolder capacitors or transistors or IC chips, and so kind of a computer nerdy type thing that. And I don't like computers to this day because of it, right?
It kind of ruined you.
Everybody loves technology until but we're always fixing it, right? It's like anything else. You're always messing with it to try to get it to work right. But yeah, that's what we did in the Navy. Before I got out of the Navy, but then I taught that's what kind of led me to the school board thing was the teaching, right? I spent 4 years as a tech, went on some cruises, went all over the world. I was on an aircraft carrier. Aircraft carriers are kind of crazy. 5,000 people, little floating city.
Tight quarters.
Tight quarters. We stay out there a long time. Almost died a couple times. Pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, one time we had it was actually a drill. And it was like a lieutenant commander. He had taken me, was wanting to show me something. We had to turn all the lights out. It was just like low visibility. It's some sort of DEFCON setting that we do, right? You know, we're going to go to this mode, and so nobody can see you turn on red lights instead of white. So we're on these things called sponsons, which are these big elevator type things or platforms on the outside of the ship that kind of hangover. And this particular one had a bunch of boxes or whatever they call them at the time on there. It was like a cargo hold things that they shipped over. And I had what's called an OBA on because we were in this drill, which is a breathing apparatus. Couldn't see very well.
Right.
Had the thing, over top of my head. This gas thing was going, creating oxygen for me to breathe. And I literally almost tripped and fell into the 80 some feet down to the water.
Oh,
and the guy caught me. He happened to just see me trip over this box or this chain, and it was right there because you could hear the water, you couldn't see it because it was low light. So yeah, that time, and then of course, being a component level troubleshooter, we were in like what was called a van. It was an air conditioned box within the confines of the ship. We had our own shop, but we had to do what's called bird checks. So pilot gets in there and says my radio doesn't work. I take it back to my bench, my test equipment. It does work. It goes back to him. He goes, it still doesn't work. Dude, I don't know what to tell you. This doesn't work here. Maybe it's something with the bird. That's the plane we call the bird.
Yeah.
So we'd have to go up there with I was called an I-level component guy, and there was O-levels. The O-level guys were basically, we call them box swappers, right? It doesn't work, get another box.
Right.
Then we take the box and we actually fix the box. So they take you up there, and I told my lieutenant, I'm done. I went up there for one night ops. You want to talk about a dangerous job? You got propellers going, jet engines going. There's 80-some planes on this carrier. You can't hardly see. There's people going everywhere, different colored shirts, and they want to take me up to the bird to check it. I'm like, okay, I can listen. Doesn't work? I don't know what to tell you. It worked on my bench. What do you want me to tell you, right? Yeah. But that was I had a close call with a plane up there one time. And they show you all these videos when you're training you how to work on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, and you see people getting sucked into planes. Right. I saw a F-18 going to drink one time in the water.
Oh, yeah.
That was awful. Awful. I think the pilot did eject right before it went in, though. So
I've seen video that where the jet goes down, they overshoot it, I guess.
Or an engine will fall out. We did with these things called FOD walks, like. Gotcha. Nut, bolt, piece of tool control and things like that on a flight line are really critical to the safety of not only the pilots, the planes, and the people on the ground. But we would actually line up in a line like side by side and walk the entire flight line to make sure there was no debris on the flight line because those engines have such power, they'll suck anything up.
Wow.
And there's thousands of fins rotating.
Yeah.
You take a screwdriver or a nut, piece of a bolt, a pin in it, you just shot $1 million engine or something.
Yeah, literally throwing a wrench into the fan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Pat's Taps at Catfish Johnny's. Pat's Taps is Lake Pennsauken's newest tap room, offering 14 rotating craft beers on tap. We also offer bottled domestic beers, seltzers, ciders, and wine, as well as a variety of appetizers and pub. Our family-friendly tap room is a great place to come hang out and enjoy some one-of-a-kind craft beer. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or the Untapped app.
But Navy. So I was on the sea side of it, right? I was deployed, called Sea Out Dead. I was stationed out of Miramar, where Top Gun was filmed.
Okay.
I actually was in the barracks. If you guys remember Tom Cruise and all them playing the volleyball in the back of that barrack. That's the barracks I lived in.
Oh, cool.
So it's shut down now. It's a Marine Corps Air Station. I just got a picture from a buddy of mine. They're ripping down the hangars. But I was what's called SEOP Det. So I was stationed on shore, but when my detachment went out, I would have to fly up to San Francisco to meet the boat because I was with the air wing. Mm-hmm. So our air wing was down in Miramar, but the ship might have been going out of San Francisco or even Whidbey Island or something.
Gotcha.
So we would fly up there and then walk on the ship there instead of it coming down to pick us up. And then the planes would, in a day or two, would all fly out and land on the carrier.
Wow.
But then I switched over. I got out of there. We shut that base down from a Navy base like in 97, right? I was one of, I think, 3 people left in our shop, what's called AIMD. It was a maintenance facility. We worked on the aircraft, all different aspects of it. And they offered me a job in Pensacola to go teach. Most Navy bases are very
Facilities.
Right, and then planes and then everything else. But, it just seemed like they always had nicer stuff. Well, I walk on a NAS Pensacola. First of all, there's a cemetery there, okay, which there's an air station museum. It's where the Blue Angels are based out of.
Okay.
And then it's got all these old Southern 2-story humongous houses that the high officers stay at. It's crazy. And then the barracks that we stayed at, I went to Memphis for my training, which was dirty.
Right.
It was old. We got through it. There was a couple new barracks, but everything around it was old and dirty. Had a good time, but it was old. We get here, everything's new. They've redone. It's almost like what they did with the old baseball fields. They took old airplane hangars, made them into movie theaters for us, made them into shopping centers for us, restaurants and stuff like that. And so we had places to go. And then the barracks were just pristine, right? All brand new. It'd be like a college campus just being built up.
Wow.
So I taught there for 4 years. The Navy sent me to training for probably 6 to 9 months of every day, 8 hours a day, how to be a teacher, how to write tests, how to write curriculum, and all that stuff. So everything that we do, here in the school, I did, except we were the military, so we did it our way. We didn't have a bunch of government telling us how to do things.
Right.
So, but classroom teacher, a laboratory teacher. I taught radios, IF or RF radio, UHF radios.
Yeah.
So we'd have to teach them in the classroom. I'd have 20 to 35 kids. And sometimes I'd have of course, they're not going to do that anymore because they had a shooting up there with a Saudi national. But we would teach other countries. They'd come into our classes.
Gotcha.
They'd be some officer, then they'd try to take our training and go back or whatever. But I taught taught for 4 years there. Both classroom and laboratory stuff. It was pretty neat.
So even our military has a foreign exchange program?
Apparently, yes.
I mean, literally.
And a lot of them wouldn't even talk. They would just, yes, that's it. They wouldn't. They would hardly talk. I didn't even know where they stayed.
Wow.
I knew where our kids stayed because they had barracks, right? But I couldn't tell you where they stayed. I don't know if they were staying in hotels out on the bay or offside. I couldn't tell you. They'd come in. Very seldom would they speak. In and out.
Wow.
But we were told we had to sit them in class, and we couldn't fail them.
Wow.
Yeah. Even if they,
Wow.
They were just here. They were just, I think they were probably paying the Navy to come to our class.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
So they didn't really care what they got.
No doubt.
So.
What was one of the coolest places you got to go to? Like, as far as, like, location-wise? Like, you said you went to San Francisco. I've never been there, so I don't know what it's like.
I wouldn't care to ever go back to San Francisco.
That's what I've heard.
Especially in the state. Now, we went to what's called a Fisherman's Wharf there.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah,
pretty neat. I was sick as a dog. It's cold when we were there. I had the flu. I was on watch. So then I spent the rest of the day. I had a couple of days there I could do, but most of the time I sat in bed trying to get better because no, it's pretty out there. Listen, upstate, there's areas of California that are really, really nice in the sense of the scenery, landscape, right. And then the upper northwest out there is got some beautiful scenery. I've been out there, but probably I don't know if it's the coolest place. It would be maybe something that people wouldn't know is Singapore. We stopped in Singapore for a while.
Yeah.
So Singapore will be the cleanest city that you'll ever go to.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no chewing of gum. It's like against the law, right? Because you can't. That's why our streets don't look like they've got gum all over them, right?
Yeah.
That's where that kid back in the 90s got caned, right? Because he went over there, right?
Yeah.
He thought he'd be a smart
spray paint.
Yeah. He was vandalizing some cars or something.
Oh yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So they whooped his tail.
Yeah. Well,
guess he won't do that again.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn the hard way.
Well, that's how I learned. Because if I did something wrong, my dad would beat my tail.
He corrected it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was corrective action.
Right.
And then I somewhat stayed out of trouble. I mean, I got lucky in the Navy. But Singapore was very clean. Hong Kong is unique. Right across from Hong Kong and China, there's Calhoun. Saw the biggest rats you ever want to see in your life.
No, I used to work at Disney. I've seen it.
No. These things were, I mean, and then what was weird is you'd see this rat, right, crawl out of the sewer, and he looks like he's 35 pounds. And then right next to him, there's people with these rotating meat things on this, meat on a stick and the light. But then there'd be meat on paper on the ground where people walk and drive and the water is. I'm like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
But you get all the, this was back when I was in 95, probably 95 when I was in China and Hong Kong. That was still when it was
They were making
English.
rat gyros over there?
Dude, I don't know, man. I didn't
gyros?
eat. Yeah, gyros. Heroes. I could not eat. Like, I'm not a big McDonald's fan, but that's the only time I'd want to eat. I could not eat after seeing some of that stuff. Now, we'd go to Hong Kong, and they'd have quote-unquote normal restaurants, but then we ended up going to, because it was all English. It was English controlled.
Yeah.
Back then, it's not anymore. And then, so they'd have a bunch of English pubs. So we'd go get fish and chips.
There you go.
Maybe have a tasty beverage every once in a while. So
grab you a pint.
Yeah. So Hong Kong was pretty neat, but Singapore was very, very unique. We went to some parks there that, you just kind of rode around and you did like these lazy rivers, and they have all these statues. You can take these little boat tours, but super, super clean. Everybody's very, I would say nice in the sense that you can't even bump into a woman there, right? Like,
oh my gosh,
they had to train us. Like when we went to Jabba Ali or whatever, I guess one of the things over there is they don't want to see the bottom of your feet. So they would kind of, hey, listen, when you're sitting at wherever, you just put your feet on the ground. Don't put your feet up and show on the bottom of your feet.
Yeah.
Well, when we went to Singapore, we had some training. Said, listen, you can't chew gum, stay in a group, don't bump into anybody, especially a woman. They take really, really offense. If you're walking down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So we had a guy bump into one. She threw a fit, but it turned out to be nothing, but because it was purely accidental.
Yeah.
But yeah, they very, very. That's the thing I would think. Very clean.
Yeah.
You just never will see a city that clean. It was almost eerie. It was almost like we were in a Truman Show or something, seeing something that was made up, like on a set of a TV show.
Like manufactured prefab, everything was just like set up where it was like.
Yeah, no, but I mean, even their buildings. I mean, their buildings were immaculate. The sidewalks were immaculate. You go into a restaurant, it's immaculate. There was no, okay, that guy went out of business and now it turned into a crap hole that everybody's got to look at. There was none of that.
Right.
The cars were all in good shape. The whole thing just was, it's like everything, not necessarily was new.
Yeah.
But it was just all kept up and clean.
Right.
Which was not the case in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and all that stuff, Jabba Ali.
Oh, wow.
You would go through, I mean, I don't know, tent cities or these little hut things, which would be the slums. And then we would go into town, and then they'd have a high rise.
Yeah.
And then it'd be all gold and this immaculate carpet, but it all smelled funny. Right, it was weird.
Yeah.
The amount of there's a place called the Gold Souk. It's like a market. They love American dollars, so we'd buy gold there, and you could buy real gold, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of perfume that they used over there at that time to cover up, because it's very, very hot.
Right.
To cover up smells was amazing. And then, of course, when you get there, you just spent 2 months in the water, right? And the first thing you're eating ship food, which it's ship food, right? It's not like a cruise liner food.
Right.
We're giving you substance. Other than the fresh bread, it was basically substance. So we get over there, and the first thing you see when you get off there is like a Pizza Hut. Like, oh man, I'm gonna give me a pizza. So you go order a pizza, and then you basically almost throw up because cows.
Yeah.
They have goats. So the first time you get goat cheese pizza is when you just went 2 months over through the Pacific and you're looking forward to a nice pizza like you got back in Bushnell, and then it's goat cheese pizza, and you want to throw up. So.
Thanks for watching part 1 of this 2-part podcast. Check out full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.